Welcome to Live in Gratitude Daily on Global Voice Radio, a show which inspires, motivates, and transforms through sharing real-life stories of gratitude. Here is your host, Denise Joy. I want to welcome all of our listeners to another episode of Live in Gratitude Daily. I'm Denise Joy Thompson. I'm your host, and with me today is Tamara Collins, a friend, colleague, and a very grateful spirit herself. And Tamara, I'm so glad that you're able to be with me today.
Me too.
So for our listeners who don't know Tamara, even though I know a lot of my listeners are Facebook friends with her, have seen her posting in Live in Gratitude Daily, our Facebook group, and she's also done some Facebook Lives. So Tamara lives in, I'm going to say Oregon or Washington State?
Oregon.
But I always want to say that she's in Washington State, so I'm not sure why. Tamara is a wife, a mother. She is her business owner of Business Boldly. She is a marketing strategist and works a lot with social media. She teaches not only in her own company about social media and marketing, but also to other business owners. So there's a lot of skills that Tamara has, and I am very thankful for knowing her, since my background is not in the technology of social media. So I also have used her skills and highly recommend her. So today we're going to talk about gratitude for the now. And, you know, as Tamara and I were talking before the show, we were talking about, you know, March is Women's History Month and International Women's Day. And what popped into my mind as an important concept or perspective to talk about was gratitude in the now. So I sort of switched gears on Tamara and I said, this is what just came to mind, and what do you think about it? And so Tamara, share a little bit about when I mentioned that, what came to mind for you?
I thought about yesterday, to be perfectly honest. Yesterday I'd had a bad day. I had an employee call out. And so I ended up going to work a home show. Now, when I got up in the morning, I was really upset about it. Like, I was not having a great day. And it's funny because the show I ended up working was the Women's Expo. And so it's a celebration of women and all things women. It's run by, I would say, 98% female business owners in their unique niche items and products. Mm-hmm. And I had been really upset about it. And I thought, okay, you know, whatever, I'll handle it. And I drove up to Portland, and the whole drive to Portland, it's about 45 minutes. I was just mad, just driving, okay, work it out. She can't be mad and work a show. So I worked it out while I was going, and I got there, and I thought, well, you know, this is okay. I'll work the show, and I got to talk to other vendors, and I got to see all these beautiful women in elaborate outfits and very powerful, cool hair color. Portland's a lot different from the small town that I'm in. And so you get to kind of experience a little more of like city. And I partnered up with 4 different business owners. I got several prospects that were interested in my business. So it'll turn out into a pretty hefty chunk of sales because I ended up going as opposed to not being there. So it ended up being a really great day. And I was happy at the end of it. And that was kind of the first thing that came to mind, is switching gears and trying to find that optimistic peace every day, no matter where you're stuck at in the morning.
Well, you know, and that is so true. Having a Live in Gratitude Daily lifestyle, and I've been purposefully living that type of lifestyle for about 2 years now. It does not mean that I don't have my moments like you experienced yesterday where I'm not happy with something, that something has, you know, made me angry or something is frustrating. And the point is, how do we switch those gears? And how do we be grateful? How are we possibly happy, content, or satisfied with what we have in this moment? And for you, you got sales, you have new contacts, you had a different experience unexpectedly than what you thought you were going to do yesterday. So,
100% true.
and also let me ask you, so if you'll share, what was on your agenda for yesterday? What were you going to do?
I was going to do some client work yesterday, and I was going to just kind of sit and have a mellow day, maybe clean my house. I didn't plan on working. It was meant to be a very casual day because I also work nights.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a KJ, and so since yesterday was St. Patrick's Day, we have a big party and everything planned. So I was kind of going to have a mellow day in thinking I was going to work all night. The shift actually, I'm glad that I went up there. I bought some great shoes. I bought some sage for my house. It was very nice.
So you wouldn't have had those shoes. You wouldn't have had the sage, which can help you with your mood, your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So in some ways, I mean, it is difficult when something gets in the way of our schedule. And one of the reasons I asked, though, is sometimes our schedule gets changed and what we were going to do may not have been that important.
No, and it definitely, I wasn't doing anything special. And by going up to the women's show, it's going to result in probably about $1,200 in sales for me because I spent a 4-hour booth time. And so the return on investment for me going up there, even though I didn't want to, ended up being a lot higher because I did.
Right. And so would you say that you had more enjoyment in doing something that was unexpected, something that you didn't originally want to do? What would you say outweighs the enjoyment and what you gained from that experience, or the angst per se as you were driving and not happy with this employee who just left?
Expo and ended up telling my husband I want to attend this next year intentionally on purpose. It was a really cool experience to see all these different businesses and things I hadn't thought of before. I didn't get to walk around very much. It was a very, very busy show, hence the wanting to attend as a person. But it was very cool to see the different.
So we have a little bit of a technology
I got it.
snafu. And so I think I missed what you had said, Tamara.
Yeah, I ended up enjoying myself far more, enough to where I told my husband that I wanted to attend the actual event next year. And it was definitely more enjoyable than what I would have done at home, which was probably cleaning my house, truth be told. And so I got to network with a lot of businesses and turn it into something really good for my personal business, despite not wanting to be there initially.
Right. So, Tamara, talk a little bit about, when we talk about gratitude for the now, I know for me, sometimes I look at the past and I'll think about the decisions that I made. And sometimes I think about the future and what do I want to accomplish? What do I want to have in my life? And I know if I spend too much time on those things, I don't enjoy or realize what am I gaining from what I am doing now? What am I grateful for? What is fulfilling me now? So what types of things are you doing, or how are you focusing on your growth, your gratitude now, and not getting caught up in the past or the future?
You know, I do struggle sometimes with that. I'm definitely very future focused. I have to-do lists everywhere. I'm very plan oriented. And so sometimes if I get off track or I don't meet what I've planned for the day, I get real kind of down on myself. I get frustrated about it. But by the end of the night, it's okay, well, what did I do instead? So the other day I went to a networking meeting and it was supposed to be an hour long. Her and I were sitting and we're talking, And it turned into like a 4-hour meeting with her. And initially I was frustrated because I had all these other things that I had wanted to work on. I was late. But by the time her and I were done talking, I'm now going to write a magazine article for her, and I'm going to have a weekly spot in her publication, as well as 3 ads and 4 new contacts for this big summit that I'm doing in Seattle. And so I had been frustrated this whole time that, like, we're sitting there, and in the beginning I was like, I'm never going to get to this. I'm not going to get to this. I'm not going to do this. And I was frustrated. But by the time we were done, it ended up being way better that I just spent the extra time. And I think a lot of times we get wrapped up in what we need to be doing or think we need to be doing, and we don't see the little blessings in what we were working on. Because she didn't say those things in our conversation. It was the next morning. She said, I was thinking after our conversation, and I really want to do X, Y, and Z. And I was like, yeah, awesome. So it worked out great. But that night, I had felt like I didn't accomplish everything I needed to because I spent that little bit of extra time. And so I think that, like you mentioned, being here and being present in the moment, you never really know kind of how it's going to turn out. There's always something in it. We had great wine. We had great food. She's super fun. And so it wasn't a bad meeting. It just wasn't what I had intended on doing.
Well, and one of the things, if we look at the concept of gratitude, it is being thankful, being aware, first of all, of what we have in each moment.
Right.
And and you mentioned the word present, when you read about relationships, when we read about self-development, when we read about growth,
on the bus.
Even looking at the studies on meditation, which helps us to be present in this moment, for this moment, our life really is better when we are present, focusing on each moment as we are living it. Because then we don't miss. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have a schedule. It doesn't mean in our mind we might think about our schedule. But most of the time, unless, it really is a matter of life and death or such a significant deadline that we don't have time to spend more time with somebody or in a situation like you were just in, it's probably okay that we don't have to be so imprisoned, per se, to our schedule that we don't recognize what actually might be better for us than the task that we have. And even in conversations, you and I both know, you and I are busy, doing more than one thing, and it can be difficult to focus solely on the task that we're doing. But in some ways, we sort of think about a surgeon. If he is not focusing on that surgery, on that task, right, we don't want him thinking about his next appointment. We want him focusing on, what are you doing to me? What are you doing with my heart, my brain, whatever he's doing surgery on. So, and when we have that, we can see even the smallest part of a situation, conversation, a task that we can then be grateful for. Like you said, the wine, the conversation, the food, and your attention to her and with the situation, look at that ended up with. If you had left in that hour, possibly, what would have happened?
Well, we definitely wouldn't have gotten to any of the partnership stuff. We wouldn't have got to the ads because initially it was a sales meeting to see if she wanted to sponsor an event we were doing. And it wasn't good timing for her business. We did an hour, we talked about it. It just wasn't going to benefit her the way that I wanted it to. And so I said, let's not do that. Mm-hmm. And so we ended up talking about other things. We talked about what she was working on and things that may have been a better fit. And so in that hour, we wouldn't have gotten anything really accomplished. And she would have left feeling like I didn't listen because I was pitching something that wasn't a fit. It didn't work for her. Mm-hmm. And so if we had cut it at an hour, neither of us would have left with any kind of benefit. would have just been, well, I don't have a sponsor and you didn't listen to what I needed and tried to sell me something that doesn't work. And it would have left a very sour taste. So I don't think that the referrals would have come afterwards. Mm-hmm. As opposed to just being there.
Recognizing the importance of building a relationship, listening, sharing, then ended up in something that sounds fantastic.
Yes.
Which was
it's very exciting.
Supporting her and supporting you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, her and I have a really good time, and we always wind up kind of on a tangent when we chit chat, but it's never a bad tangent. Mm-hmm. It always turns into something beautiful, and we brainstorm and we do these different things. And so she's definitely someone who teaches me that I need to be right there, because we rabbit hole a little bit, and it goes different than I expected to every time.
Mm-hmm. Well, and in some ways that's being open to receiving. You know, another concept of gratitude is when we have gratitude for what we have in that moment, it opens us up to receive more.
I agree. And she always brings me something. And, you know, like I said, I'm definitely on the planning side. I do it in our conversations. I'm very focused on trying to achieve this certain thing. And I speak to people like you or like her that are just like, okay, well, this is what I'm working on. This is what I'm doing. And our conversations sometimes don't go the way I think they do, but I always leave feeling better for the ones that I have, or I leave with some benefit that I hadn't expected or some idea that I hadn't gotten. So I agree 100% about the open to receive and taking time to be available to new ideas.
Mm-hmm. Well, and one of the things for me in our conversations that we have, I also receive, and usually it's very good information and advice and recommendations. And yes, I know if I would act on more of them.
You're just a busy lady, that's all. So it works out.
Put them again on my task list so that when I have that moment, because, you know, one of the things is, we do, even though we're present, we also have to also know when do we bring things into our presence, right? When do we need to get a few other things done and not necessarily hop around too much and being present in all mm-hmm. sorts of things. And so sometimes it's a balance. And I think sometimes it's intuition or that gut feeling. That sort of sounds like what happened with you and your friend the other night, that you sort of had this intuition, this feeling, your gut, I need to spend more time here.
Mm-hmm. And we did, and it worked out really nicely. She had been running late. And she didn't tell me any of this until after we were in our conversation, but she was trying to interview a new assistant. She had just a real rough day. So she was already 15 minutes or so late to our meeting, almost 20. And so I'd been a little irritated about it, but I figured, you know, it'll be okay. It'll be all right. And she got there and she was frazzled. And so I said, you know, take a deep breath. It's okay. I'm not upset. We're fine. It's cool. And we had a beautiful evening.
So, you know, and that's another thing that sometimes when a situation is happening that's outside of our control or out of our schedule, we might get upset. We might question, is my time not important enough for someone else to be on time? And, you know, having spent a lot of time in the military and as a therapist, my schedule in the past was very regimented.
Right.
And in some ways, it is telling ourselves, and I've been working on this, if someone's late or something's going on, is I have this moment to breathe. I have this moment to think. I have this moment to relax. So mm-hmm. they may have a very good reason for being late, which most of the time people do. There's traffic, there was an accident, a phone call, and I've been there myself. So in that time, in that space, having gratitude for the now of a few minutes of no conversation or no stimulus,
Mm-hmm.
we really can use that to regroup and take a few minutes to meditate. And I think a lot of people don't allow themselves, don't see that 15 or 20 minutes of quiet as actually being beneficial, dropping their blood pressure, right?
Right.
If it's high blood pressure, but just relaxing.
It was really nice, actually. I had a glass of wine while I was waiting, and it was the first time I'd kind of stopped in my entire day, because I went straight from one appointment to the next. And so it was nice to have that little 15-minute. I thought about what her and I would be talking about. I also took a minute to think about the class I was teaching tomorrow, and it was just kind of me time. I didn't have anyone else that I had to really think about right then. And that doesn't happen a whole lot in my day-to-day. So you're right. It was very nice to have that.
So I hope that our listeners get an idea of how to be in the now and not to place a story or not to place an emotion that could be negative to us when something doesn't go our way. Because it could be going our way, it just wasn't the way that was on our schedule. It wasn't the way we envisioned. But what if it is the way that it is supposed to happen, and that there's a message for us in the change in our schedule?
That's a great point. And I mean, I think that you as a therapist and as a counselor have a lot of experience in that. And so you talked about hoping your listeners get it. What is something we could do, like in that frustrated moment, to help to recenter? I'm sure that a lot of us deal with it.
Well, one of the things I had mentioned, earlier is take a few deep breaths, right? So you have the thought, or the thought comes to mind, she's late, I wonder when she's going to get here, I have several things on my schedule to do. Well, one of the things to change that thought is to take several deep breaths, because that stops those thoughts that we're having or interrupts them. It centers us, it helps us to refocus. And then also, as you did, what can you do in those few minutes of quiet? Have a glass of water, have a glass of wine. I'm not advocating drinking alcohol, but if you enjoy that, which I probably would do, I'm at a restaurant, we're going to have dinner or appetizers, I would have water and wine. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it is interrupting the thought. And so, as you had said, you then thought about what are some things that we could talk about in our conversation. But the most important thing is interrupting the negative thoughts that are going through our mind. And we could even journal. You could journal something quickly about how your day was, how you would like the conversation to go. What are you grateful for? If we're having a negative thought or a negative emotional reaction to something, we can deliberately, you know what, I'm going to write down 3 things that I'm grateful for right now. Now, the exercise may seem forced, right? Because I'm actually telling you, create a different reality. Your reality of your negative thoughts, let go of, create the reality that you are grateful for 3 things. And in doing so, that changes your thought process. And that's something.
I like that tip. That's a good one. I keep a notebook in my purse, but I've never really thought so much to use it on the but I like your idea of writing down the 3 tips. That's a good one.
Well, and it's very easy, and it can be done quickly. And in some ways, even throughout the day, if someone is starting to have a gratitude journey, then it's something that they can incorporate and get used to. Because as human beings, it seems that it's so easy for us to be negative, to be in a mindset of lack and scarcity, instead of focusing on the gratitude for now and what I have, and having that become a daily habit. That is the lifestyle.
Yeah, I know that's been the biggest shift for me. So I got the book at the start of the year, the Living Gratitude Journal, and I write in it every morning when I get to work. And it's a very different shift in how I would start my mornings, because that was never really my thing. It was my to-do list. I had started my computer, and instead I wait. So I walk into my office, I make coffee, I sit at my desk, and I grab my journal, and I spend the first 10 minutes writing in the gratitude journal. This is today. This is what I'm grateful for. This is what exists in my world. And it's amazing the shift in how your heart feels and how you approach your day, because you just start in a better mood. And it's been really nice to do that. And I like that you're focusing on how do you keep that feeling throughout the day, because I think it's easy to get sidetracked. You can start with the best day ever and the best intentions, and things will waylay your day. And so I like the journal one.
Yeah,
it's a good one.
And in some ways, how you do your morning routine is a great way. Because oftentimes when we first wake up, and especially, you have children, you have a husband, we're really busy. And we might not be able to have that 5 to 10 minutes of quiet to journal and then go on with our day. So, as you were talking about how your morning routine was, I could see you. I get to work, I make coffee, I get my coffee, I sit down. And it's almost like this moment of relaxation, this moment of openness, doing your gratitude, sending out that energetic vibration so that then you can receive gratitude for the day. And hopefully there's not anything that interrupts that. But as we know, life brings us interruptions. And so then after an interruption that maybe we've had some negative thoughts or we're upset or frustrated, we can go back and have that 5 minutes again. Take a few deep breaths, maybe write some gratitudes, and then go on. And that helps us to reconnect with gratitude for the now and keep us in that positive frame to face the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that it definitely changes how people interact with you. And so I notice if I hold on to it for too long, I get, real grr face. And then people don't want to talk to me. Other people get moody, and it just kind of brings everything down. And so when I take those couple minutes to kind of recenter and think, okay, well, this happened. What can I do now? How do I make that better? There's nothing I can do about the situation. So what can I take from it or shift from it? And it changes the way that people talk to me, and it changes how people interact with me, and people being more willing and accepting to come and approach me and work with me. And it's changed kind of how my social circles work in the amount of people that come to them, which for me, business-wise, is great because I'm a social person. And so it works out nicely to attract more people to me.
And are you attracting people who are like-minded with you as you are now in regards to incorporating gratitude?
I would say most definitely. And part of it, though, I still very actively work on. And so if there's someone in my day-to-day or someone in my life that is just constantly negative, I am working to make a more active choice to not include them. Or, like for Facebook, they say you unfollow people. You take them out of your feed for a while because it's not that you don't like them, it's just bringing down your vibe. And so I make a very conscious choice to protect who I spend my time and my energy with.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that is a wise decision, and not that we want to leave people out per se, but also I know that I share my perspectives. People know that I have a living gratitude daily lifestyle. People know that I am spiritual. I mean, I think people know that if they look at the groups I'm in and what I'm posting. And so then individuals have a choice to contribute to that type of lifestyle for me. I welcome them, I share with them, and some of them are not ready. And I think it is okay then that we might not have a connection, because they can always come back. If they are at the point that they can understand, accept, or receive what I'm sharing, I will welcome them back. But if they're negative and toxic, and I have tried, but they're not ready to receive, then it is okay to me that we don't have that connection.
It took a while for me to get to that. My circles looked very different not even a year ago, and it took a while for me to get to the point that it's okay that I take some space and that I restructure a little bit. And it's definitely made an impact in my life to change my circle and to get that more positive energy with people like you, or the people, like I throw my message out there, and the people that are like, yeah, I get it, you know, and it's shifted how I interact in my day-to-day. And I get more of it because I receive it. And so I'm able to be that person for somebody else. And it changes your day dramatically. It's been a positive.
And isn't it heartwarming when you see that people understand what you're posting, that people see the changes that you're creating in yourself, and that you're sharing that. You're being authentic in your gratitude, in your mindset, in what you're saying, so that people can truly know what you're creating for yourself and they can join you.
Very much. And I like it. And I'll get messages sometimes and like, you're doing awesome. I just wanted to tell you, you know, I really liked this. I really liked that. Or they say, you know, I want to work with you. I want to talk with you. Can we chat? And so I've created a lot of friendships and partnerships in groups that I've been in of like-minded people that I never would have really interacted with initially, before I was like, hey, this is me. This is who I'm going to be. This is who I'm becoming. And inviting people to kind of get on that same wavelength with me. And it's been really fun and nice to change. It's part of an evolution, I think. And the more people I find that are in that same cycle and that same set with me, the more we grow together.
Because, you know, we develop in regards to what we are taught and what we see and the people around us. And changing does not mean that we are not being authentic. And in some ways, when we look at a live in gratitude daily lifestyle, it actually allows us to be more authentic, because it takes off the layers. I mean, the cliche is we can peel back the onion, but it really allows us to go deeper inside of ourselves. Instead of some ways of living, we pile on layers and we pile on a mask because we've gotten into a group or a tribe that everyone is wearing a mask and everyone is afraid of being authentic. People are afraid of being vulnerable. And one of the things that I see about being grateful and thankful is it is becoming more authentic, and it's being grateful for everything, right? Regardless if, okay, I should work out a little bit more to be healthier. Regardless if, oh, what if I didn't have that 10 pounds? What if I, didn't have the few wrinkles? Instead of few, right? It is embracing that, being grateful for what I have right now, because I know others don't even have what I wish I didn't.
Right. No, and that's a huge, you talk about those 10 pounds, you have food, you have plenty, you have what you need in order to survive. Your extra wrinkles, you've lived, you've experienced, you're older than some people ever get to be. There's a blessing in all of those things. And I like that you talk about being more authentic, because I noticed with, the journaling and the conscious work at being more grateful, I'm in a better mood and I'm more accepting of who I am as a person and who I want to be as a person. And so I share it with more people, and it's made it a little more of a, this is who I am. I hope you like it. And if you don't, then that's okay too. And I'm still okay with it, as opposed to being so afraid of being myself that I don't share who I am with other people. And I'm a fake person because I'm afraid that people aren't going to like me. And so instead, I'm just a little different. I'm a little weird, but if you like me, then cool. We're going to, if not, that's cool too.
Well, and sometimes one of the things that I have seen with gratitude is I don't make up a story, I'm putting that in quotes, a story about someone else liking me or not liking me. If I am truly grateful for myself, I like myself, I accept myself, I'm grateful for myself, regardless of who else likes me or doesn't like me. Which, when I'm being authentic, when I'm really being me, when I'm sharing from my heart, it seems as if more people are liking me because they're seeing this, and it's not fake, and it's not made up, and I'm honest in a kind way, at least 99.9% of the time, right? I'm human, so something might come out direct or too blunt. But I think when we are truly ourselves, that other people see that they accept that more readily than when they see someone that is so covered up. And it's almost like a chameleon that in regards to what group they're in, they're a different person to be accepted. And I mean, I have a hard enough time living me as one person, let alone trying to remember who I was being with what group.
Right. Well, and it makes it hard to work with those people because you never really know what you're getting, and you never know what is real and what isn't real, as opposed to, okay, we might not agree on this, but I know that that's how you feel about it. I know that that's where you're at. And I would rather work with someone like that every time. I'd rather see and know where somebody is at. And so it's been very refreshing to approach life a little bit differently in that regard.
So how has your family reacted to the changes that you're making in yourself?
You know, I have to say I honestly probably have the most supportive husband ever. And so it's really nice and refreshing, especially because I just started with my own business. And right now I'm in that get the word out there, that kind of brand awareness stage. And so I go and I meet with people and I talk with people and I meet with people almost every night. Several nights a week, I'm not home until bedtime. And my husband picks up our kids from school. He makes dinner. He does the homework. He does the tucking. And when I have a win and I tell him about it, he amps me up. Good job, baby. I'm so proud of you. You're the best. This is going to be great. I throw out these big, crazy ideas. He's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to make $10,000 this month. Awesome. Good job, baby. I know you can. Great. And so it's been really nice to have that kind of validation in my family. And my kids, my son Braden will remind me, he goes, Mom, you need to go do your live. Did you do your live tonight? He'll offer to hold my camera for me. He'll offer to turn the lights on. I get very lucky in having a supportive group behind me. A little more on the extended family, not all of them get it. Not all of them kind of get what I'm trying to do or what I'm going with. I've had family and friends unfollow me because I post too much about my business, or they don't like what I'm talking about. They don't participate in my lives. They don't like my stuff. And a lot of that is kind of hard to handle because you think, that's your group, that's your tribe, that's who should be the most supportive of you. And I think it's just that they don't quite understand what I'm doing, so they don't know how to support. And so I've had to actively work on shifting how I see their support and what I want their support to look like. Mm-hmm. Maybe they just don't quite know how to do it. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, my inner circle, my husband, my kids, my parents, the ones I hold closest to me are very encouraging, despite maybe not understanding everything I'm trying to do.
Right. Well, one of the things that happens as we evolve, as we become more authentic, it can be scary for other people to see that because we go through a transformation and it can be hard. It can be, I've cried because of the things that I let go of, because what I've recognized that I can't hold on to, that I need to allow to leave my space, to leave my life. And for a lot of people, staying the same, remaining in the status quo is comfortable, even though painful, and they're not reaching their potential as a being, right? Regardless of what they're doing in their job or their business. I'm not talking about reaching potential and creating those things, but just as a human being. And so, yes, it can be scary for them. They don't understand. And so then it's like, well, wait, I don't want this change. I know what it was like when you were who you were, before you were changing, before you were creating a different life. So we're going to tell you we don't like it, and we want you to go back. And in some ways, though, once we start that evolution, once we start transforming, we can't go back because of what we now know.
Mm-hmm. And I 100% agree. And it takes some doing. It takes a little bit of effort for sure. And there are people in my life that I can't, I love them dearly. They're my people. They're just different. It's a different relationship now. And it's not what it used to be. And it was hard, like you said, to let go of some things and to change and accept that, okay, well, this relationship is going to look a little bit different. This is, I'm on to the next step, and they're not ready to be on that next step with me.
Right. And one of the things about our world is they can always come back. They can follow you again. They can read what you're writing. They can try to understand what you're doing and how you're living. And it's okay if they want to come back and follow you, and it's okay if they don't.
And yeah, and I mean, there's people that I don't talk about business with. I don't talk about, a lot of things, which is hard. When you're so into something at the moment, you're so passionate about it, it's hard not to make that your everything, whether it's business or life, or, if I want to talk about the cool thing my daughter is doing in band to everybody I know, it's hard to switch gears and accept, okay, they might not want to hear about that one thing. And so I struggle a little bit with it. And you talked about being present in the now. And so I've been actively working to make sure that, okay, I'm listening to whoever it is I'm talking to, and I'm engaging in the conversation we're having right now, as opposed to directing the conversation to where I think that I want it to go. Mm-hmm. And so I'm working at it, getting closer.
And the other thing that came to mind as you were speaking is there are thought leaders who have come before us who would share their message, not make people listen, but some of the names that came to mind was, the Dalai Lama, Martin Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela, Deepak Chopra, even Oprah, right? They share their messages, and those who want to listen and those who can accept and those who understand do so. But they also don't push it onto people, like you said. If you realize someone really doesn't want to hear it, then you might not, but you also provide opportunities for them if they now wish to. So it is a balance of us sharing our voice, sharing our message, but also realizing and not forcing it on people. And I think that as we change, as we grow, as we transform, we are passionate and we do want to share because it's just such a wonderful, even though there's ups and downs in this journey, it is so wonderful what we now think and we feel and we experience and who we're becoming.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think you brought up something interesting about wanting to share their voice, and I need to be aware other people have a message that they're trying to get out as well. It might be different than mine. We might not be on the same wavelength just yet. And so, when I sit down with Sabrina and we had our 4-hour chat, she had a ton of stuff that she needed to get out and she wanted to talk about. And so it was in me receiving their message as well and being willing and open. And a lot of times there are things I never would have thought about. And so if I just take a minute to listen, I get a whole different thing. And it's been really refreshing to try and allow myself to do that, because that's a practice for me.
Right.
hearing and listening.
You know, in some ways that sort of goes back to when I think I have seen, by being more in gratitude, seeing the opportunities and allowing opportunities. And like you said, by you listening, you receive, you now are able to think about different things and have a different perspective. And, you know, when I think about that, God, Spirit, Universe allowed that to happen. And you were open to what was going on instead of, hey, I got to go. I don't have time. Good luck. Let's, you know, touch base again.
Right.
Sometimes that's not always possible. But when we have the opportunity, are we taking the opportunity to allow whatever experience, whatever's going to happen?
Right. Well, and taking time, I think, is a huge part of the gratitude stuff that you've been talking about, and being present and being right there in all of the moments, good or bad, and looking at how they're helping to shape your life and how they're affecting you. A lot of people learn in those adverse times, and a lot of people grow the most when they're challenged and when they're pushed, and things don't always work out the way that you think they're going to. And why didn't they? And a lot of times, like you said, it's the source, you know, God is trying to push you in a way that you want to be seen, and he wants to move your life. And so accepting and acknowledging that something is okay, exactly like it is. Mm-hmm. I think it's been a huge shift in how I'm doing things and changing things.
Well, Tamara, I want to thank you for being here with me today. And also, if any of our listeners would like to talk to you about what you do in your business, and your business is called Business Boldly, how can they get a hold of you?
They could reach me on my website, which is businessboldly.com. They could reach out to me on Facebook. I'm very social. I love talking to people. You can go to my business page, Business Boldly, or my name, Tamara Collins. I accept both. If it's specifically about business, I would love it if more people would follow my business page. I do business videos and teach a lot of stuff on the page that I'm not going to be doing as much on my personal page anymore. And so that is shifting a bit.
And you can also connect with myself and Tamara in our Facebook group, Live in Gratitude Daily. You can always tag Tamara there. Also go to her Facebook business page, Business Boldly. So thank you again, Tamara, for being with me today. A great thank you and shout out to all of our listeners. And please join me weekly on Live in Gratitude Daily on Global Voice Radio, and have a very grateful week.
Bye, Denise.
Thank you for listening to Live in Gratitude Daily with Denise Joy. Join us every Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern on Global Voice Radio.